So we're going to try this out. We're going to see how it goes. So we're the main focus today is just really going to be talking about social media. It's probably how you guys all know me, unless we grew up together, which I don't think we did. It's pretty much been the big founding, how Amber Interiors has gotten started. It's been how everybody who knows me now knows me. So I wanted to just really kind of dive in and talk. That's one of the biggest questions I get all the time, besides the advice and the how-tos and the where'd you get this from, and who does your hair, all those things. Okay, let's get this right. Anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to focus on that, and I'm really excited about diving straight in. So, Kitty, take it away.
So we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but if we don't cover... Does this work?
Yes. Louder.
Louder.
Yeah. Sorry.
There we go.
Louder.
We're newbies.
I know, this is, you guys are totally the guinea pigs. I hope we don't mess up at Google. I'm sure they probably have their shit together way more than we do, but, lessons, life lessons.
All right, so we are going to cover a lot of questions today, but we're also going to take questions from you guys in the audience, and we sourced some questions from Amber's Instagram fans as well. So we're going to cover, like I said, a lot of things, but whatever we don't cover, write down your questions. We're going to reserve some time at the end to answer your questions. So to kick it all off, Amber, how, why, who are you? Why are we here? How did you get started? Start from the very, very beginning. It's a great story that a lot of us know who work with her, so just wanted the chance for you to tell everyone here.
So who's been following me since the get-go? Anybody? Oh, my mom. Okay, my sister. They don't count. My husband, I'm pretty sure Gwenny. Yeah, she was there. Anyway, so if you haven't been following me for a while, I actually started this craziness back in 2011. I had a long, tumultuous career as a design assistant, trying to figure it out with another company, and it was amazing for me, but I just always had a feeling and knew that I could do this on my own. And so my husband and I scrimped and saved, it's really whatever.
Same.
You get it. You get it. To buy a house. We bought a house, and it was sort of the turning point for me to be able to start talking and doing my own thing. I didn't really have a big, huge intention of what or how I was going to do, next steps. It wasn't like this calculated idea. I just knew that I wanted to share something. I knew that I had the opportunity to share it with whoever would listen. And I started a blog, and Amber Interiors started as just a blog. And I, again, was like doing DIY. I was, everything I could do by myself I was, and we had $0, literally like negative $0. So we just had to kind of figure it all out together, and I started blogging about the whole entire process. Instagram kind of came around the same time, and I thought it was a great platform to be able to share and talk and whatever, and I started just posting photos of Gwyneth, the whole, obviously, like basically just your kid and your animals and food. And then it started to catch on, and my blog started to catch on, and the rest is history. I mean, I can go back, we'll talk about a lot more of that, but it really started as just a need and a want to get out there, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I figured a blog was the only way I knew how. I was watching all these fashion bloggers do it, and I thought, oh, it can't be that hard. Taught myself WordPress, taught myself Photoshop, really just kind of winged it, and it worked out for me okay. And then, yeah, and the rest is sort of history. I got like 1 client, 2 clients, 3 clients.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest questions a lot of you guys have been asking over the last few years are how did Instagram actually serve as a viable tool to build a business? Like, I love your pillow singing story. So I used to, before the days of having our e-commerce store, which we now have for 2 brick-and-mortars and online, I used to do flash sales on Instagram where, sorry, let's just try that one more time.
So I used to do flash sales. It's really jarring. I'm not going to be able to hear. Good thing I don't need to. I need to see. That's the only thing that I need. So we used to do these flash sales where I would literally throw pillows on the floor and be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, snap a photo, go. Whoever PayPals me first can have it. And it was the way that I started to grow my business, because people were asking me, hey, where'd you get that pillow? Hey, I saw you were at the flea market. Can you get me that rug? Hey, can you whatever? And so I just made a totally bootstrap business out of it. And it all started on Instagram, which is super crazy because it was no plan. There was no big plan. It wasn't, I had this calculation, I'm going to open stores, I'm going to be this interior designer, I'm going to do all this stuff. No, it was just like what I was doing at the moment. I was doing it very passionately and very obsessed, and I was obsessively engaged on Instagram, which means that I was building communities and building friends and making friends and just all the time. So the sales really were just a way for me to kind of like sell things to other people. I think I might need to move away from this one. Sorry guys, just do this for a second. See if I move away from that, if it'll stop. Okay. Anyway, yeah, so that's what I did. I was selling things on the floor, and then they were selling it. I would send it off, and that was sort of how it all started.
And Instagram and Pinterest and all of social media. Sorry. All right, we're gonna try that again. So obviously, social media, Instagram, Pinterest, all the things are so different now than what they were 10 years ago. How do you look at your business now versus then? It's obviously scaled tremendously. You have 3 brands now versus an Instagram account and a blog. How do you think about social media? What do you think about social media now versus what it used to be? Just a very general question.
I'm going to share now. I want to first start by saying how important I think anybody who's here maybe to just try to get some little tidbits of advice if you're starting a company or you're trying to go out on your own. I truly think that social media is actually the way. There is no other way. I don't think that you can word of mouth till your heart's content, but I would probably say that 40% of my business is out of state and potential out of country. Like, it's not in my small wheelhouse of just people in the Palisades or Santa Monica or whatever that are just telling their friends. We're getting introduced to people, way broader audience because of Instagram and because of social media. So I don't think it's something that's gonna, I don't know if it's not gonna, of course there's gonna be something new. Something else is gonna come across, but I don't think that means that we should all stop and look for that new thing. I think that we should all be incredibly actively engaged, and I continue to be. It was only recently that I was always the one behind the scenes. So I answered comments, or tried to. I'd answer comments, I'd like back, I would totally engage, and then once we got to a certain number, that became a little bit more difficult just because there were so many comments and it was hard to kind of follow the DMs and answer everybody. And I got into a trap of there's a lot of very urgent needing, I need this answer question, so I would stress out about it all day long, like, how do I answer that person? I feel really bad. And then I realized I can't do that anymore. So Kat came on, Kate came on, and now I have a little bit of a social media team on the back end, but our goal is really to grow that part of the business. I don't ignore it. I feel like it's the 4th part or the 5th part or however many parts of this business there are, because I have to pay attention to it, and I think that everybody does. It's really irritating for everybody in my life and my family because it's, we spend some time, but that was the part of Kate and Kat coming in. They kind of helped me to let go a little bit of that. But the person who I was 5 years ago versus the person who I am today, we all evolve and we all change. We're always perpetually, going with what's next and whatever. And I've just learned to become really true to myself and really true to my brand. And so, the evolution is a lot easier than it was when we were starting off and I was trying to impress people. Now that I'm not trying to impress people so much, I'm more just trying to share what I'm up to. Did I answer your question? Oh.
So I think that's the perfect segue to you now have 700,000 plus followers. People, like all of you guys, want to know what she's going to say next. They want to know what's next. They want to know the trends. They want to know the paint colors. They want to know who did your hair. They want to know everything. Her. So how do you deal with the pressure of that? And I think a lot of people think just because you're bigger now, whatever, however you want to say it, it's easier because you already have this following, but I would argue that's not the case. So how do you deal with the pressure of needing to post all the time and beating the algorithm and all these things?
The algorithm, it's killed, this is actually a really serious thing. It has killed 75% of my growth. And I don't know what it is. I think, anyway, I'm not even going to go on a tangent. You asked me a question, I'm going to answer it. It's definitely tough. As I've grown, the more eyes I have on what I'm doing, the more susceptible I am to scrutiny and feeling very vulnerable that every time I put something out there, oh, is it going to be as good as the last one? Is it going to be better? Is it people are going to hate it? People are going to not like it? And it's been very recently that there's been a big shift. I'm now doing things that I love as opposed to doing things that I have to. And that's just been the joy of being able to grow a business. It's been years of, this has taken me a long time to get here. But I'm able to now pick and choose things that I want to do. I'm no longer having to say yes to every job that comes my way, which is not something I look at and think, I don't have to. I really, truly used to say yes to everything. And now I'm a little pickier and choosier because we are so accessible and everyone, is able to reach. I mean, people reach out to us all the time to do projects, and so we're booked out. And it's tough. I mean, it's definitely changed my philosophy on this business. I personally feel, like I said, super vulnerable all the time because I'll look on Instagram and I'll be totally discouraged because there'll be, someone who's just maybe doesn't have enough skin in the game and they're like killing it left and right. They're just doing bigger, and even me being super insecure about other people seems ridiculous, but 100% I'm always looking into the next person. And I think when I first started, that was something that drove me, and now that's something that doesn't serve me anymore. It doesn't do me any favors to be competitive. It doesn't do me any favors to let the scrutiny hurt me. It actually just hinders my growth. And I've noticed that the more that I engage with feeling affected by what other people are saying, which, there's always an opinion. They're like assholes, we all have them. And so it's like the more I'm upset by that line of thinking, the more that I don't actually give you guys what anybody wants to see. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy. The clients aren't happy. It just becomes sort of a shit show. So yeah, it's definitely tough, but it's a beautiful thing. And I'm lucky, and I feel really thrilled to be able to be in a position to, kind of make the next call and make the calls, but it didn't come easy.
So we'll start on a happy note and all the good things about social media. What would you say is one of the coolest things about social media? What has it done to, lift you up, or do you find it to be this great support system? Just the good stuff. What's the good stuff that you see about social media? Because we'll talk about the bad stuff in a second.
There's a lot of good stuff that comes with that silly number that sits at the top of your Instagram account. It's sort of like people want to throw things for free at you, which is sort of amazing. I'm not going to lie. I'm never going to turn away free anything. I'm like, oh, yep, free cheese? I'm into it. Like, what do you need from me? Wait, yep, I'll do it. I say that I become more picky and choosy. There was a time, I will totally self-deprecate here, there was a time when I did a Lipton iced tea ad. Me and Lipton iced tea, what do we have in common? You'd be surprised. It was 0. And I did it anyway, and it was funny, and it was ridiculous. And I remember, I think, getting paid $2,000, and I'm like, I've made it, you guys, I've done it, this is it, me and Lipton, I'm going to the top. And I'm now mortified. I lived in 11 comic, but no, it was the things you do when you're building your brand.
like, I love my people. There is a definite crew of people. Like, I recognize the commenters, I recognize the names. I don't know by faces because I'm shit at that, but I remember names like on the little Instagram handles, and I think, oh my god, they've been following me for a really long time. I really like what I do. I think it's special, and I really love it. Oh my god! And I'll like and I'll try to comment as much as possible. And that kind of thing is really beautiful. The community is amazing. Obviously, the perks of being able to be in so many people's faces is great. It's helped me grow a brand. I mean, who am I kidding? 3 or whatever, however many there are. 5, 439. Yeah. It's helped to grow all of this. It's helped me get however many people are sitting here right now come and pretend like you care what I'm talking about. Like, it's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. And I try to only focus on the positive as much as possible, but that's really tough in this world, which I think you're going to segue into that pretty quick. Good girl. But yeah, no, I really think it's a beautiful thing if you can utilize it to your advantage. And I should probably give you guys more tips, but I'm going to do that as soon as we get there.
Segueing now. Social media anxiety is a very, very real thing. People talk about it all the time, and I think we're in this generation now where our kids are in middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school, dealing with it like 10 times worse than we've ever experienced. I think a lot of us sitting here today, experience it from a career standpoint, but you also have a lot of followers, a lot of people listening right now that have kids in elementary school, middle school, high school, and it's tough. What advice would you give to people based on, you've been in the game for the last however long Instagram's been alive? What is it? It's like 10 years, almost double digits. Advice. Give us the advice.
Okay, I'm going to start off by like a little anecdotal issue I had once, because it really struck me and it made me remember that I'm a human and that there is a human behind this number, and the number is so fascinating to everybody else, but ultimately, like, this is just part of the day to me. It's not a big deal. There was an incident where someone called out my kid, and mama, don't play with you messing with my baby. I lost it. And the hardest part about that was actually that someone said something and it had me thinking for days. It wasn't just an hour, it wasn't just a minute, it was days. And it made me analyze every single thing in me. Am I doing this wrong? Is this the truth? They said something horrible. Is it the truth? Is she sad? Is all these things? And it was awful. And it was messed up. And in a world where everybody is so finicky and cautious to say what they want to say because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, the fact that someone could attack someone in a screen and whatever, but then I realized this happens all the time. I'm this tiny piece, and we're all basically have nothing but balls when we're sitting behind a phone, and you can say whatever you want, and it's hurtful and it's horrible. And so I try to keep it light. I try to, every now and again, I'll, like, full disclosure, hey, I'm gonna get sappy. A lot of times it's just trying to come from a place of gratitude and come from a place of love and harmony and realizing that we're all in this together, whatever that means. I'm a pretty spiritual person in the sense that, like, I believe that we're all here on the path, whatever that is. And I try not to let that garbage affect me, and I hope that it doesn't affect others, and I hope that by not letting it affect me, that will trickle down to habit piece so that you guys don't ever feel like you need to spread, I don't think you will, but spread hate or be judgmental or be horrible to other people, because we're all human. No matter what the number is, it's literally, I'm a human reading these comments and it affects me. Yeah, so that could be really tough, and I think taking that specific comment to my home life, and even in the office, I'm always really trying to be positive. So I work full of, how many women are there? There's a lot of women we work together. It's amazing, 20-something. And there's a couple dudes, but they,
Hey.
I think I'm in the wrong place.
Oh, a lot of women. Anyway, so I always try to just make sure that we're all checking in with each other. I mean, and doing a little kumbaya every now and again, and just making sure we're all happy and doing what we love. Because in order to be creative, I fully believe you have to be happy, of course, in your workplace specifically, to spend the majority of your life there. So yeah, that's it.
It's true. We all know more about each other than anyone else, I think. But speaking of that, you have a lot of commenters and fans always asking, like, are you really like who you are on Instagram? Like, you're very conversational, you're a little sassy, you're pretty funny. Like, is that actually, I mean, I know the answer to this, but you tell me.
Yes. I actually keep it down. Who I really, I mean, even sitting here right now, I'm like, which one of them is gonna be funny? Which one can I talk to later after I've had another cocktail? No, I definitely am a lunatic, 100%. It's the only way I can deal with any, it's true, it is. It's the only way I can deal with anything. My whole family back there can attest, I'm nuts. I have to be nuts. You have to, honestly, to grow a viable business, you have to be insane. You have to learn to flow, to go with go with the flow, roll with the punches, all those silly things that you can think of. I have to literally be on my A game every single day. And the only way that I can handle that is to be ridiculous. Is to understand that if I'm a complete bitch, it's not personal, it's a momentary thing, it's going to pass, and then for sure I'm gonna kick you and then hug you. And then we're gonna wrestle. And then we're gonna drink, and then we're gonna have a great time, and we'll all laugh about it later. And that is the only way, and I think because I'm so open about that method of how I behave, there's no surprises. I mean, I'm sure the girls in work are always like, ooh, yikes, like she's scary today, but it never lasts. No one ever laughs being pissed at each other. No one ever goes home crying. It's, it's, or if you do, I'm sorry, send me the bill. But we're all really happy and healthy, and that's the way I want to live. And I try to practice the way that I want to be in my actual life is the way that I want to trickle that down to work. And again, we are there 1,242 hours a minute. Oh, here we go. She's taking it away from me. Yeah, I am the same.
She's sounding crazier than she actually is, but she does threaten to wrestle me 5 times a week. But I'll take her down any day.
She's tiny but fierce.
Okay, speaking of all that, there's a lot of BS on social media. You're the real deal, but there's a lot of BS. How do you weed out what you see out there, especially when people are saying cruel, mean things to you, or the copycats, or just all the things out there that's just, we all know it's genuine BS. How do you deal with that?
It used to really piss me off. It used to really make my blood boil. I'm sure if any of you guys are starting out your career, you can't help but be like, oh my god, I've got this amazing idea, and then you go on Pinterest and somebody already did it. Or it's right there in front of you, and you think you're coming from this amazing creative place, and you just, sometimes somebody beat you. It used to really piss me off, and now it doesn't. I think at the end of the day, I have to know in my heart that I'm 5 steps ahead, whatever that means, even if I'm not. In my head, I have to pretend like I am, and that's how I keep trudging forward, and that's how I keep pumping out things that make me happy and that I can continue to be creative with. But there's a lot of, the gram, but besides the gram, besides social media, besides all of that stuff, I think just in life, being in this business, you learn, because I have other parts of this business too, I'm around certain people all the time, and it's like immediately I just have that bullshit radar, can't do it, can't, and it's been useful to me with choosing clientele as well. It's really tough to go into a partnership as a business relationship with someone that's gonna suck. Because it's a marriage, it's years. Sometimes it's literally years. And that's no fun. You don't want to go home, you don't want to think about that person doesn't want to weigh you down. And I kind of treat all the relationships that way. I want to be surrounded by people that are amazing and that we share an energy and that we can kind of grow, because otherwise it's really draining and it sucks. So yeah, that's that.
Okay, we had an audience question. Samantha_BL, this is for you. How do you silence the IG and Pinterest noise and put forth your own vision and voice? Just going along with what you just said about everything you've seen out there.
So one of the things I get asked the most is how did you learn what you learned? How did you do what you do? How do you keep it fresh? How do you get inspired? I don't have a method. There is no, I don't have a calculated plan. I think that's what the beautiful part of it is. I just do what makes me happy. I do what my clients want and I do what makes me happy. I can't always just go into a client and be like, yo, this is what we're doing. Just give me the check. Well, sometimes I can do that. But now it's easier. It wasn't always that way. So, what was I saying? Anyway, I don't even remember what I was saying. I just realized I just said that about a client. I'm like, I'm on camera right now. Hey, love you guys. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna hit, yes, I just look at Pinterest, I do what makes me happy. That's
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So now where you're at, like how often do you get to have free reign versus, like you could be picky or choosy, right?
Yeah.
Day. But then are you still getting those clients who are like, no, we want this?
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
I mean, I'm not in a fantasy world. Like, I'm not in I wish that no one gave a shit what I did. Do we need this?
Do I still need this? Okay. Yeah, it's really hard. Because then you get into a part where you're in your career going, I swear I know what I'm doing. You're perpetually having to try to convince other people of what your ideas are, and that's really lame. It's exhausting. But I'm in a position now to be able to do that after like just saying yes to people. I think there's a psychology to it. I think there's a little bit of nudging somebody in the right way by being like, letting them get there. Sometimes I let my clients get there on their own because they think they're so convicted to an idea, and really when you show them what that all looks like, so like visual support, showing.
psychology kind
I mean, I'm not that smart, but like, I don't think I'm like that smart to know reverse psychology, but it's more just trying to suggest in a very nice way. I've been married for almost, 14 years. Like I know how to suggest in a very nice way. Like, you gonna, did you choose that on your, okay, all right. I mean, I would have done something different, but okay. I do a lot of that with clients. It's just a lot of like suggestions to do something different. Yeah. That's very okay.
Okay, we've somehow just blabbed for 45 minutes already.
Q&A.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is time for Q. Well, actually, before we get into the Q&A, I was very excited to ask Amber this question.
Oh no. I don't even know.
Who's your favorite Instagram account to follow right now?
I mean, there's like drunk AF. Bitches. I really like Maddie Matheson. I don't know, I'm lighthearted. I try to I follow interior designers, don't get me wrong. I follow kind of like the really crazy, weird ones that would do stuff I would never do. What was it? Maddie Matheson. He's the bomb. He's the absolute bomb. I love Half Baked Harvest. Woo! Gerard. Yeah. I don't know. My therapist says is the greatest account ever. Do you guys follow it? It's the best. It's the greatest thing that exists. It's so funny, and I have this whole, I have this thread that goes they're telling me it's time. I have this thread that's like between me and my girlfriends where we just send each other memes. That's the entire point of the thread. It's the only personal DMs that I have going on all the time. And we just send each other back and forth ridiculous memes, and it's the funnest thing. So that's what I follow. I don't know. Not that interesting. The Fat Jewish. He's great, yeah. So corny, but really, what would you leave with everyone today? Just social media.
I mean, I'm
sure this is so cheesy and predictable, but it's just be true. Be true to yourself. Be who you are. If you feel like you're getting lost in a sea of other Instagrammers, who fucking cares? Eventually, your time will come, whatever that means. And if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And that's okay too. I think that I've grown my business with a couple of factors. One of them was timing, one of them was luck, and one of them was talent. And I think those three things kind of came together in a very happy path to get me to where I am. But ultimately, it's to me, it's like a little bit of a game. We all want to see this number. We all think that that's going to equate who we are or make us more successful and whatever. Some of the most successful, amazing interior designers have like 400 people, and that's okay. It's okay, and it's beautiful. So your audience matters. Every person that's following you is who you're basically, that's your audience. So cater to your audience and be truthful to you. That's kind of good.
Okay, we're gonna start with audience questions now. Raise your hand and we'll get to you.
You don't have to ask just about social media.
It doesn't have to be just about social media, so go. All right, you first.
I'm pretty loud.
Can
you guys hear me?
Here.
Can you hear me? Does the camera need me?
Okay. You gotta turn it away. Yeah, you're good.
Where am I going? This is really weird. I didn't think it was gonna be like this. I'm talking to you and all that. I hear this. So if you can go back to kind of the earlier stages in your prime hustle,
Yeah.
can you kind of touch on or talk about your hustling, you're starting this whole thing up, I don't even know if you're sleeping at this time. Can you talk about like when to really separate yourself from the hustle, the drive, making it happen, and then, you time. Like I know when you're starting off, I'm sure a lot of you are entrepreneurs or interior designers, newbies, etc. Like, how do you know when enough is enough, and really when to separate yourself from the pedal to the metal and to just be you, but also at the same time make it and separate yourself from like the average or the basic.
Yeah.
You can just touch upon that and kind of give like your advice and your 2 cents.
Okay. So, I don't have that figured out yet. I still every single day try to juggle it all. I have an insane drive that kind of is to a fault. I think I don't ever take off my hustle hat. I am working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week because I want it. I don't feel like I need, I mean, I definitely get burnt. 100% I get burnt out. Some days I just come home and I go, wait, I've just talked for 42 hours straight. I don't sleep very well. I've never really slept well, so to me that's not really like a sad thing. I just kind of just know that I don't sleep very well. I can maybe afford Botox now, so it's fine. I just don't feel bad for my situation because it's what I want. So I don't cry about being tired. I don't feel bad about that. I definitely feel bad about opportunities missed with Gwyneth and my husband and things that I am not being able to be present for. But ultimately, I'm growing a life for all of us and a life for my family and whatever. So I don't really do a lot of regretting, but I do a lot of whining. I whine a lot. I cry a lot, and I definitely bitch to anybody who will listen about how tired I am. Oh my God, I'm so exhausted. When I was first starting, let me get back on topic. When I was first starting, I used to, when I was starting the blog, I would put Gwyneth down, and she would sleep, and I would start work. And I would work until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and my husband, Mike, would come out and be like, get off the fucking computer! And I'm like, well, I can't because I just learned something on Photoshop, or I know how to post, I know how to post something now, and I can do this on my own, and I'm really proud of myself. So I was getting excited about all the things that I was learning, and that really propelled me to the next step. every time I got excited about something, I'd be really excited about it, and then something would come from that excitement. I'd get a goal would be achieved, and then I'd get even more excited about the goal being achieved, and then I would start whatever the new thing was. So when I first started, I didn't sleep, but I didn't cry about it. And I didn't have problems with the fact that I was tired, and I didn't really, I mean, I'm sure I whined a ton, but in my head, it was a sacrifice that I was willing to make to get to that, whatever that next level was, and I'm kind of insane like that. I just have that in me. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
How did you know when to bring on your first person and then like no, oh, I can keep paying him, like you're not going to hire
Yeah.
him and then all of a sudden crap, you know?
So the backstory to that is when I first started, I was working at home, and I had like a part-time employee that would come to my house and work at my dining table, and then she moved on, and then I had another part-time employee, and she moved on, and then I was broke, and we were at this precipice of whether or not we were gonna go forward with the business. I was in major debt with our house. We had no money. My husband's job was changing. All of a sudden, we were up Schitt's Creek without a paddle, and I realized, okay, well, I just either need to figure this out or I don't. So we kind of did the extreme. I don't recommend everybody do this, but we literally did the absolute extreme. We sold our house and paid off all of our debts. We put enough money aside to pay one employee and pay for a full year of rent. So we went from homeowning to renting, and like car payment and groceries and going to school. And we just totally winged it. And it was that dedication that put me, I was on my toes all the time. I couldn't fail. Now I had a full-blown reason not to fail. I couldn't, because everything else would collapse. And so I was dedicated. I was already dedicated, but then I had a little bit more of that driving financial factor that really kind of held us to never stop. So I brought on a full-time person in and around that time when I knew that I could pay someone for a full year. It was a crapshoot. It wasn't really like a job guarantee either. And we grew, and it was amazing, and everything sort of fell into place. But it was, for that person, I felt real bad. I mean, it was dining table, and I'm like, this is all I could pay, and I got it for a year. So hope we get more business. Let's pray for the best. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
So I imagine you get a lot of client projects. How do you weed out ones that you don't want and what do you say?
Yeah. Typically it's money. Not gonna lie. A lot of times it's money. So I've come very comfortable with knowing what I can and can't do. What seems like a lot of money to some person, I realize that if you want a level of my design, sometimes that's impossible with a certain lower budget. So budget is always a huge factor. Second factor is personality. Like I said, I don't want to work with assholes. I don't want to do business with people that suck. It's draining. It never comes out right. If you're immediately on the defensive with a client, or you're immediately trying to convince somebody that what you're selling to them or what you're telling them is right, then you're at a disadvantage. You're already screwed. They already have made up their mind that their opinion, they just want you to agree with them. They're paying you to say, yeah, okay. And that's not going to help you build a brand, and that's not going to help you build a look. So you're going to you're just basically telling them that their shitty taste is okay, and that is going to get you nowhere. So it's really, really tough to say no to certain things, especially when you're first starting. So I think when I first started, I did a lot of like photo shoots, and then I would take the things back. So I would do like my best, beg, borrow, and plead and steal to try to get like the perfect photos, and then I would take it all back and leave them with their crappy decisions. That's sort of how it worked. Now I don't have to do that so much anymore. But when I first started, that was the way for me to build my portfolio, because I could layer and I could do my thing and I could make it look special without their money. Just, borrowing things. Be like, oh, the client didn't want it. I'm sorry. I'm really cheap. It's on a stain. No. It was there. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. I think you got it. Yeah. is for everybody in the back is, did I know what I was doing? Ever? No. No, did I know what I was doing when I first started? Did I have CAD experience? Did I start with full-blown like construction remodels, or did I just style? So the answer to the question is that no, I never had CAD experience. So I dropped out of school, and yeah, I was like, I got this. I can do this on my own. I think that I was psycho enough to think that I could, so this is why I have succeeded. But I really wish, in hindsight, that I had done CAD. I think it's the most important thing, and I said this, if you've listened to like the Second Life podcast that I just did with Hillary Kerr, I told her, she said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I won't hire you unless you know CAD, because I have to build basically a team of people who can do those things that I can't. So when I first started, I winged it hardcore. I basically would like crayons on site and pretend like I knew what I was doing, and I made so many very costly mistakes that came out of my pocket for the experience, you know. It was kind of insane, and sometimes I look back and go, how did I get here? I'm still figuring it out. But no, I think you learn a lot, and I was a sponge. So I would just do a lot of things pro bono to just learn, and I would go on job sites and I would tag along and ask all those really idiotic questions that made me look stupid and like I didn't know what I was doing, and then I would go to the client and fake like I knew what was happening. And I still, you know, to be fair, sometimes I do that. Still, I work with these big time architects and they'll say all these fancy words, and I'm like, oh my god, shit, I'm Googling what is this thing, and I have to figure out what it is, and very fast kind of get to that point. So you gotta wing it. You gotta kind of fake it till you make it. But fake it till you make it. I mean, it's like we all say it, but it's really the truth. Yeah, for women, it's really, really important. Yeah, one or two more questions. Oh, guy in the back.
Keep going. When you're sourcing materials, do you have like favorite manufacturers that you work with?
Yeah.
And then when you're working on projects, do you like help choose the contractor? Does the contractor choose you? Does the homeowner choose you?
Yeah.
That way, like, I'd be
So
interested about that.
the question was, what was the question? Oh, it was, the question was, basically when I'm sourcing things, where are they coming from, pretty much, like vendors I like to use or whatever. And then the second part of that question was, do I get my own team, right? Contractor, architect, whatever.
Yeah.
It depends. Every situation regarding contractor and architect, every situation is different. I prefer to build a team. Ultimately, if I can work with an architect who speaks my language and a contractor who speaks my language, they're going to make me look good always, and they're going to do exactly what I'm saying and understand the aesthetic. I swear to God, a quarter of an inch makes the difference on a full-blown design. So how you see a countertop edge, how you see the style on a freaking cabinet, all of that will change the design, and if it's done poorly, it will always make you look bad. No matter how much spit and polish you put on it, it looks like garbage. So if I can build a team, I choose to do that. It's not always the case, and sometimes you have to just get very, very solid in your language and in your design style and in your formula. So I have a very specific, size of certain things. Everything has to be a certain way, and that goes to the team. The team doesn't waver, and we crank them out. So to answer that question. And sourcing, yes, I'm fortunate enough to have these stores so that I work with vendors, the same vendors all the time. I use the same sofa dudes, I use the same upholstery, I use the same case good guy. They're my people, they understand me, and we trade favors in the sense that we, carry their stuff all the time, and I'm selling their products all the time. So I build these amazing relationships and have done for years. So I like to use the same people. And I source a lot. I shop a lot. I shop for a living, actually.
But like
job.
more like tile and flooring rather than
Yeah,
sofas.
I do tile and flooring. I use again like the same-ish people. I think sometimes you can go out and try to find new awesome vendors, but it's not always, grass isn't always greener. Sometimes simple is better, and to use people that you really like, because when we have ventured out of our comfort zone sometimes, it's not great. So yeah, that's my
Thank you.
Yes. You're up.
So when you're busy
Yeah.
and you're in demand, how do you put people off and keep them on the hook?
I
Like, what
don't.
do you say?
I just hire more employees. The question was, when you're busy and when you're in demand, how do you put people off and keep them kind of on the? So I am really bad at this. I'm still learning how to do this. Typically, I say like we have a wait list. I don't. I do. Like smoke and mirrors are all gone. Just get me one glass of wine and I'll tell you the truth. They are literally, I say, oh, we have a wait list. We don't. We do, but we don't. We have a wait list for certain clients. There's a certain, again, it sounds horrible, but there's a certain budget level I know I can and can't work with, period. Typically, that's when I pivot and start to grow the team. When I feel like we've had like 4 or 5 or like 3, whatever, however many projects have come through, and I'm looking at those jobs and going, oh shit, I have 6 people, oh shit, I have 10, I need more. That's when I kind of open up the doors and go, okay, I should really hire because this job is going to propel us to the next level. This job is going to whatever. And if I sustain the amount of clients that we have, I can sustain the amount of employees that we have, so I'll be okay. So it's very guttural. Most of the things I do are guttural, but that's kind of the theory. It's just very, I hire. Yes, back there. That answer? Yeah, okay.
Hi.
Yeah,
Is that
hi.
me? Hi. I was just curious, so when I'm seeing on Instagram and you're doing all these fabulous installs, and you have mounds of rugs and pillows and all of these things, so are you taking on projects that like full measure, you can just bring in and clients like done, check, paid,
Yeah.
don't need to see what each item is committed to, you just have full reign on that point of
Yeah.
like details and all of that?
So the question was, is do I have full reign with the clients, with the pillows and the rugs and the shit, right? Yes. I am very clear at the start of a project that I won't source a rug until the day of the install. I'll collect and I'll pull and I'll try, but I don't necessarily always start with a rug. A lot of times I start with a palette and work backwards and kind of pray for the best. It doesn't always work in my favor. Sometimes I've been really screwed and been like, oh, this rug isn't my favorite, or oh, these pillows aren't my favorite. It rarely happens just because of the stores, so I have like an endless sort of supply of things that I love. Or if in my travels of like 8 months of doing a project, in 8 months I'm gonna find something better. So I like to put a filler in, so saying like, okay, this rug is gonna be $4,000, $5,000, whatever the amount is, and just kind of put that in their proposal so they have an idea. But I don't commit.
Like
I
not
don't
item
commit to
by item,
pillows
so
or
like
rugs
they
or
maybe
anything.
commit to like a color palette or an overall vision of what it's going to be, but detail by detail, it's not like a sign
No,
off on
I never
Got it.
paint a full picture. It's a big picture, a big piece picture. So we do like sofas, I nail down. Drapery, I nail down. Any kind of really unique special pieces, I nail down. And then I kind of keep this floating number in the sky of things that I can shop for later. My best and favorite projects are the ones that came together within the first, 3 months prior to install or 1 month prior to, sometimes day of. Not gonna lie, sometimes day of. I'm like, oh my God, I need that rug off the wall. Get it off, get it over, we put it down, it's perfect. A lot of times it's a scary number. But it's up to the clients ultimately. It's really not my problem. My problem is to make sure that they like what they see, and if they like what they see, then they can buy it or they don't. And it's just a fluid conversation we have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, darling. Hello.
So when you're just starting out and you're hustling and you're trying to engage on Instagram, does it dilute your credibility to post things that you're really fangirling over? Or what's the balance there when you still have connectivity?
So I have a really interesting. So the question is are you fangirling if you repost other people's work? No. Spread the love. I think we share spread. Yeah. I think you share the love. I think you spread the love. I think it's really important to support people that you appreciate. I think, I had a really crazy experience where I recently posted someone else's work that I loved, thought it was amazing. That girl reached out for a job. She wants to work for us. And it's kind of insane because her work is beautiful. Like, why would you leave? Because she went to the other side and realized it was really hard. And running a business is gnarly. And it will put the gray hair, but again, you might be able to afford the Botox later. But it'll put the gray hairs on your head and it will make you age infinitely. But yeah, so anyway, so I share the love all the time. I don't like to be inclusive, and who cares? If you like what you like, post it. I think everybody should share the love. It's Instagram. Yeah. All right, yes.
Your stage here,
Yes.
amazing ones, but you're also running the business.
Yeah.
Lots of different businesses.
Yeah.
HR, all that. How much of what you love
Good question. Yeah. So the question is how do you manage it all and still get to do what you love, right? How do you run a business and do what you love? When you get successful enough, you hire those people to do those things for you. So it was not always this way. We are going back to like our first accountant who's literally like burying us at the moment because we're like trying to clean up stuff from 2012 to like the IRS, and it really, at the end of the day, like I didn't know what I was doing. Clearly, for my budget, he didn't know what he was doing, and it gets messy. We talked about this recently. So Kat and I just went to talk. I'll say it here first. I won't say what. But we're licensing. I get asked all the time, when are you going to do a cheap thing? Well, it's coming. But we're. Yeah, one person was excited about that. Come on, all right. We are working on licensing the brand and getting it out there to more people, and that in and of itself is a full. I mean, we're also writing a book. Like that is bananas. That is absolutely an asinine decision. Don't ever do that. Like, what is the point? It's basically fodder and to like be proud of yourself, but it's insane. It's insane. It is so much work. The deadlines are crazy. The photo shoots, the stuff that's involved, it's almost not worth the money. It's just to like say that you've done it. And I think a lot of this business is that. I think you just either decide that you're going to take the good and the bad and look at it for what it is. So some days you're going to be doing accounting, and some days you're going to be picking pillows. Every day is going to be different, and you just have to kind of deal with that and be happy with that, and your career will, it'll flourish, is the right word. I think you just have to, again, it's not always pretty. I still grunt. I mean, I'm still doing, no one believes me, but like I literally still do full-blown installs where I'm vacuuming and schlepping and Windexing and pulling in pillows. I'm like literally still doing that because that's how I started and that's what I love, and I'm sweaty and I'm disgusting, and then I have to meet these clients and I'm like literally gross, and that's all I can do. I mean, it's who I am. So you take the good and the bad. It's not all fancy schmancy. It's not all free stuff, Anyone else? Yeah.
So I think you mentioned that timing was kind of on your side in terms of Instagram, and I don't know if a lot of other designers feel this way, but I feel like it feels relatively saturated.
Yeah.
But as all things do, I feel like they evolve and they change, and especially to maintain relevance, and in the technological world, things are kind of moving forward. Do you feel like you see where social media, what direction it's going in, where it has to move, and you have to move along with it, I think, to maintain significance? Do you have any idea or where you think that's headed?
I go back to, the question is where is social media headed and how do we deal with all the saturation, right? Yeah. So the saturation, that really is just speaking to cater to your audience. So make your people really, really happy and do what you love, and eventually the news will spread in its capacity of how far it's going to spread. I think not everybody is meant to have hundreds of thousands of followers, and that's just something we need to digest and be okay with. Where I think social media is going, I don't see it going anywhere. To be fair, I really don't think that Instagram is going to die. I've definitely seen there's a huge influx in engagement. I mean, even for someone I know how many eyeballs are looking at posts, and the amount of likes that I'll get on a post compared to how many eyeballs I know saw it, it's insane. It doesn't make any sense. So I think there's definitely a lot of, I don't know, it's discouraging even to me. It can be scary, like, what do I do now? What do I do next? I think it's not going anywhere, but I also think that there's something to be said about having your fingers in as many pies as possible. This is why I haven't just stopped at interior design. That's why I do all sorts of, that's why we have the Instagram presence. That's why we're licensing. That's why we have stores. That's why we're e-commerce. That's why we're doing all these things, because I don't know if I don't know if Instagram's always going to be a thing, A, and B, I don't even know if I'm always going to have clients. How do I know? I don't know if the phone's going to ring. It's always, knock wood, it still continues to ring and the emails still continue to come in, but you don't know that. So how do you diversify your business? How do you make it so that you're offering something else and then pushing your way to not just being another face of the crowd? How do you become more important? And I think this was a personal goal for everyone. I mean, I just think you just have to figure out what that is, and not rely so much on social media, but just hope for the best. I sure do. Anything else? Gwenny, you have a question back there? Gwyneth?
Why do you like Instagram so much?
Oh! Cool, Gwenny. Why? She said, that's our 9-year-old. She said, why do you like Instagram so much? Honey, Instagram has helped you get to private school. That's right. You know those tennis shoes you got today? I'm just kidding. I like Instagram, my love, because it makes me happy. It makes me happy, and I get all these amazing friends and family and people that we know because of that. So that's what that is.
I know.
Oh, here we go.
Here's the thing. Isn't there cyberbullying on there?
Oh.
Touch on it.
Cyberbullying? All right, I'll touch on it. Okay, so Gwenny wants to know, isn't there cyberbullying? Yeah. You know what? I'm going to address something today. I'm going to say it because there was a someone today. It was interesting. There was a few someones today, but I didn't really get a chance to answer, so I'm going to answer it now for y'all. So today someone said, how and why did you just rip out that beautiful brick? I don't know if you guys saw that entryway I did. What were you thinking that you took out all that beautiful brick, you ripped it up and you threw it away, you put it in a landfill, and you're a terrible person and I hope you die. And I want you to know that I'm gonna go to bed and put needles in your eye in my voodoo doll because you're terrible. Something to that effect. It was not nice. And the funny thing was is that if you look at the before, the rooms are totally different sizes. So where the old brick was, it ended on a wall that no longer existed. So honey, you can't patch in where there's no brick to match. I had to put new brick down. We salvaged as much as possible, and I put it all back down. But the audacity and like the vibe of people with their like anger and their meaniness, meaniness, that were so passionate about making sure that I felt like crap for 5 minutes. I can't, how do you even compete with that? Like, that's the cyberbullying. I can't win with that. That person sucks, Gwenny. That person was not very nice. And you know what my response to them was? I hope your rant made you feel better. You need a hug. You need a hug. We hug in our family, right? Yeah, we hug.
Should I come up there and give you a big hug?
Yes, you should! I mean, you can't make this kid up. I did pay her, yeah.
Oh, I know that song.
Yeah, girl. All right, any other questions? No? I mean, yes.
Okay, so when you're starting out in the beginning, are you getting paid hourly or by job? And if it's by job, like, is it a shit show when all of a sudden you're like, crap,
Yeah.
you're hearing them and
It still is.
and the hour, it's not paying for itself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So it was a question about fees. I'm happy to actually be really transparent about this. So when I first started, it was flat fee only. And I remember charging a certain amount, being like, oh my God, they're never gonna say yes. And then they said yes. And then I was like, okay, the next client came and I went, oh my God, no, they're never gonna say yes. And then they said yes. And it was like, I would do these little like monumental increments, $4,000 more, $5,000 more, $10,000 more. And it all of a sudden became like, oh my God, these people are saying yes. I gotta keep going. I'm gonna keep going for the stars and see what happens. And then I realized that the work started to justify the fee. And that I was really spending a lot more hours than I was getting paid. So I started to calculate that on the back end, and I would say, out of state is tough Because the schlep. So like here, when I'm local, I have the ability to be like, oh, quick, bring that trunk full of shit over so I can try it out. There, it has to be meticulous, and I don't like meticulous. I hate meticulous. So I like to have options. So we just did an install in Connecticut, and we literally had like, we sent 27 boxes of stuff. Only 21 came back, so that's not so bad. Oh, 6 came back. 21 stayed. Yeah. Sorry.
You overship.
I do. I overship and just like realize it's going to be a cost that I'm eating, but I like options. Options are worth it to me.
You're still fine to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Quality.
Yeah. Out of state is really tough though. It's incessant. Let me see what's going on today. You know, so like eyes on the scene.
You're obviously not putting in your DC.
No. So you like to vet them a little. Got to vet them a little. I mean, but it doesn't really matter. A lot of the times you're coming in and the team's already chosen. Yeah. So you just kind of be like, hi, yeah, we're gonna work great together. Okay, you can't do this. You can't do this. You have to do it like this, and just ignore all of your own rules because mine surpass. Yeah. Yeah. We are at 8:00. We are okay. So one more question, and then we are done. So.
How many projects do you take on at a time?
Ooh, loaded question. Right now, we have 28. It's not. It's gnarly. I kind of want, I think, you know, I'm careful what you put out into the world. Because I'm at this weird precipice again where like, what do I do? Do I grow? Or do we stick with what we have employee-wise and just try to manage it? Because everything is always in different varying stages of build. So if we're built, like we're working on a couple of projects that have been on 3 years. By the time we're done, it'll be 4. And it's ground up construction, which is just a crapshoot anyway. You never know what you're gonna get. You never know what's gonna be going on. So yeah, 28 is about all I can manage right now. I mean, I think like I say that. So there's also other things going on, like we have stores, I'm doing licensing deals, I have a blog, Instagram, a kid, I'm married, I need to shower.
But that's kind of like you're still trying to figure out how to like.
Yeah, there's no
plan it out
answer.
a little bit.
I promise you right now, it doesn't matter how big you get, there is zero answer. There is no way, and you figure it out as you go. And every single job I learn something new, and I will never do it again. So it's like the things that really sucked and that aren't gonna benefit me next time, I don't do those again, and I just learn my lessons and try to move on. Great, get your systems in place. I don't know whatever systems you use. We use Studio Webware, and I'm obsessed with it. That's what we use, and so getting your systems down is crucial. That's the only way that you can manage it. We use Slack, the Slack HQ. I don't know if you guys have that. Anyway, it's like an inner company text messaging thingy. Okay.
One add-on to that.
One
How many
last
staff? How many members are on your team to manage those 28 projects and stores and things as well?
So there is 9, including myself.
Not many.
10, yeah, on the design side, and then on the shop and everything else side, there's the rest of everybody else. But I'm literally 5 members short, in my opinion. We like try to perpetually hire, and then I get too busy and forget that I need to hire somebody, and we just kind of wing it. But anyway, I think it makes sense to have 2 people per like every 6 to 10 projects. 2 to 3 people, really skilled, sanity, level-headed, happy, normal employees who can handle all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Okay, you guys, this was brilliant. This was amazing. You guys helped me warmed up, and I really warm up for the Goog tomorrow. We talked a lot about social media today. We talked a little bit about business, but I think as these seem to be, I mean, this sold out in like 10 minutes, which is really shocking. So I think we're gonna try to do this again. I think this is a great, you guys all saw it here first. Yeah, we're gonna do this again, and maybe we'll talk about different things. In fact, I think we should. I think everybody kind of wants to know more about the business side of things, which is pretty awesome. I actually have a lot of anecdotes and things that have not worked for me and worked for me that I think I'm happy to pass on. What's the point otherwise? It'll be in the book. That's right. You guys want to know something that's crazy? Is that the book has been being written for over a year and it still will not come out for over a year. That's how this shit works. And by that time, I will hate every project that's in it. I'll be like, oh my god, I can't believe that thing is still in there. Yeah.
Fall 2020.
Fall 2020. All right. You guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Follow all sorts of on Instagram. That's all I have to say. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.